Hey, this is Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. I have Mr. Eze Redwood here. I want you to know, people, this guy is a certified genius. I do mean that humbly and respectfully. This guy is one of the top business people I know in the market, and I wanted to bring him on so he could talk to you today. Hey, Eze, how you doing today?
I'm always glad to join such an amazing trailblazer like yourself.
Well, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get to your status. Hey, in case you don't know who you're talking to, this guy went to college at 16. Is that right, Ezzy?
Yes, sir.
That means he's highly intelligent. We're not talking to this average person. This guy is in Kansas City. He's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm a Ravens fan. So we gonna try to keep this social and respectful, but we're gonna enjoy this today. So Ezzy, I know you've been in all these magazines and on TV and all this stuff, and a lot of people in on my channel may not know who you are. So the first question I have is who are you as a man?
I think the easiest way to answer that is that I'm a problem solver. Uh, I I like helping people, and I try to make money doing it. But sometimes I'm successful with it, sometimes I'm not, and sometimes I am and I am not. you know,
Okay.
yeah. And some of the first responders out there will get that. But I think I think that first and foremost, I solve problems. I think that's what I do. I've done it in corporate. I led the internal innovation think tank at the global investment bank when I was 24. I flipped my regular job into that. I created my own role within the organization, focused on that. I was one of the first Google DI fellows, so we could kind of work on whatever we wanted to work on. I chose how to uplift, rural, urban communities so they could change their own socioeconomic status. I've been enough to be nominated and elected onto the National Small Business Association's Leadership Council. That's the largest small business entrepreneurship organization in the United States, and they have a storied history in DC as the main champion for entrepreneurs there. Yeah, and outside of that, I've been in a few different industries. I've been, we've launched restaurants who now have multiple locations. I had the tech company at one point that won awards, and here recently we were in everything from vending to I've helped friends scale medical supplies companies and you name it, both through the accelerator I used to run, as well as just, as an individual. So now I am a strategy consultant, where I help people grow and scale their businesses, as well as helping organizations to figure out some of the hard problems they face internally, like bottlenecks and systems.
Okay, so people, what he just gave you that top tier business school answer. He solved people problems. As first responders, some of you have started small businesses, you're growing your business. This is the guy that you talk to when you have a problem and you can't figure it out and you can't Google it. So he's a consultant, okay? He's a strategist. So he gave you a little bit about this, and he leads you into my next question, which is why did he go into business? Like why did you decide to do that? Because obviously I went to college, I'd been through the military, I'd lived life a little bit. I did my freshman year at like 19 going into 20. You had did it 4 years earlier. Did you always know you wanted to go into business, or did you kind of just was like, yeah, I'm just gonna try college out?
Well, I saw solving people's problems as a way to make money. And so really it was more of like the best way to make money is by solving people's problems.
Hmm.
And I did figure that out at an early age. So my was it freshman or sophomore year of high school? I think at the time uh I don't even remember how old I was. I was 12 or 13 or something like that. But I was in LA and Santa Monica High School, shout out. And I was like, man, these lines to lunch are too long. By the time if you get there at the end, you barely have time to eat. And the lines to the vending machines were too long. So I started selling candy. And fast forward 4 months, I had made $40,000 selling candy.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on, hold on. You was how old and you made 40 grand?
Yeah, I think I was like, what, 12 or something? I think I might have been 12.
Okay, people, you just heard that. Now, for all you people that make these excuses, I don't have time. I'm busy. My job is demanding. We're talking about a 12-year-old that made $40,000 in high school. I told you you were dealing with a genius today. Okay. Well, I don't know about the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's a genius. Anyway, so that leads me to this is why do you think more people don't go into business?
I think it's just, well, I think it's two things. I think it's fear and conditioning, right? So it's fear of the unknown and conditioning because we've been conditioned to, just work a job and accept whatever monetary value people place on what we do, right? How many like and it's always people who don't really fully understand what you do and how hard it is that are the ones in charge of how much value, financial value should be placed on what you do, right? There is no reason whatsoever that teachers assistants should be making $10 an hour in this decade. There's no reason why first responders shouldn't be able to pull up to work in the same kind of car as the people who don't add value to society and aren't saving lives, right? There's the complexity that is a order of magnitude higher than a banker, and yet you're paid a fraction of what a seasoned banker is paid. Nah, man, get out of here. I don't accept that. And the way my outlook on it is is similar to Nipsey Hussle in that he was selling his CDs for $100 each, right? And
Right.
he said, why should I let the music industry tell me how much my album is worth? They weren't in the studio with me. They didn't, they don't understand what I'm trying to do. Like I'm not. So instead of signing to the label and letting them mandate that his album is worth $10, he said he's gonna be independent and charge $100 for an album because that's the value. And so I see a lot like that. That's why we're there where we're at, is because we've been conditioned to be here, right? And I think unfortunately we're now in a place where, because of inflation, because of poor decisions being made at different political levels, federal, state, local, and I don't care what color you put on, I don't care if you're red or blue, there's terrible decisions being made on your side too, right? And like, so
That's true.
I don't see which side of the aisle. It's all the aisles. It's both aisles. It's the building, right? And I think that happens a lot on the local level, at the county level, the city level, because those have a lot of impact on us, as well as the state level, which has an outsized amount of impact on us. And you have people in those spaces who control the pricing for our industries, who do not necessarily understand the value, who've never done a ride along, who couldn't even tell you what you do, right? And they're the ones in charge of determining how much you get paid. Nah, man. So I think that because of that and because of inflation, unfortunately, we're in a position where, one, we have to save. We can't be consumers to the same extent we've been able to be in the past, because the world has changed and salaries haven't changed much, right? And then two, salaries haven't kept up, I should say. And then two, at this point, if you want to get out of that cycle and create a better space for you and your family, you have to have some kind of business. You just have to, because you can't rely on other people to create your future for you or give you the tools.
That's true. I that reminds me of two things. A story that my line brother, my fraternity brother, shout out to Omega Psi Phi. Fraternity Incorporated.
Ooh, you got to put that down, man. You about to blind me. You about to
So
blind me. I got to
my
put the
my
shades
my
on for you.
line brother,
And
Reggie Bowie, he actually worked in the city of Cary, or in a, I don't want to say the wrong city, but in North Carolina. And we were talking, and he said, you know, Mike, most people don't realize, like you just said, Izzy, that most decisions are made on a local level from a micro standpoint versus a macro standpoint. And he was telling me how companies were coming in, and they were coming in and building houses, and they were saying that we were going to build houses for the community. And so him being the president of the board at the time, he basically said, hey, let me ask you a question. He's like, how much does it cost for someone to live in your community? He said, they said, oh, well, a person who makes, you know, $75,000, $80,000 should be able to buy a house here. He was like, well, there's one problem. He's like, our medium average was somewhere between 35 and 55. So those people in the community could not even afford to live in that development, but yet you want me to approve this development for our people. So he brought that to my attention. I was like, wow, that's deep, because, you know, we go back to redlining, and we go back to all these different things that kept certain people or certain demographics or certain groups of people out of certain areas. It started at a micro level. It wasn't based off of the whole United States. And so you're right on that point. And then my second point would be that when we're talking about these finances and people working a job, you work for a municipality, or you work for state government, or you work federal. And I've had the ability to work for state and federal. And I remember what it was like to be working night shift and make $43,000 a year. And then when I went to the government, my first sergeant said to me, he said, son, how much they gonna be paying you? I said, they're gonna be paying me 57, what was it, 59,217. He was like, son, I've been working here 15 years, and you're gonna be making way more than I make, and as a first sergeant in my department. He's like, you go take that job. He's like, and keep going and keep pushing. He was like, because that's the right thing to do to take care of your family. And I think so much that a lot of first responders, they forget about themselves because they're first serving and they're helping people in the community, but then they're now saying, okay, I can get overtime, or I can do this, which takes them away from the family. So I think even though you have the job and you're in the community and you're working, you can start these side hustles that will allow you to walk away, A, before you get killed, B, before you get hurt, or C, before you can't work anymore because of a disability. And we don't ever talk about those three things. We always say, oh, we're going to retire, but not necessarily so. People could get hurt on the job, and yes, they get workman's comp. However, workman's comp is a fraction of what you make. You know, if you don't have disability insurance, that's another thing. So we have to get people thinking about, I must be a owner instead of loaning my time, because everybody's got 8,760 hours in a year. It's how they use it, you know? So that leads me to my next question is, what are the top 3 mistakes people make when starting a business? And I know you know that.
I'd say I'd say one, not, approaching it with the same mindset that they had when they weren't starting a business would be one. So when you're starting a business, it's like you need to be thinking differently. You need to think, how many hours do I have in the day, and how can I get the most out of those 24? So if I have 24 hours, let's say 12 hours of those go to work and commuting to and from work and decompressing from work, etc. And so now I got 12 hours left. And now if we take those 12 hours, let's say I sleep 6 to 8 hours, right? I personally sleep 6 hours. So, that cuts that in half. So now I got 6 hours, right? So of those 6 hours, how am I constructing that so that 6 hours of free time, how am I constructing that so that I can accomplish all the goals I need to? So, I think that there's two things to think about in that 6 hour block, for example. In this example, some people may not work, as long shifts or whatever, so this is going to be different for everybody. But I think about, within that 6 hours, how can we be really intentional in thinking about planning to accomplish all of our goals for that? So 2 of those hours may be really intentional family time, right? Because that's the other thing. It's like you're so stressed out providing and putting food on the table or whatever that the family unit as a whole suffers. Well, even if you don't have kids, so your relationship suffers. So, how can you be intentional about those first 2 hours so that you're feeding that relationship and feeding that family, right? And it doesn't have to be the whole 6 hours, right? Because proximity does not equal quality. So just because you're around your family or you're around your significant other doesn't mean that it's valuable quality time. And a lot of people mistake that. It's better, far better to have an intentional hour and a half or even hour than have a proximity, 6 hours. People all the time, like I hear people say, like, we don't spend enough time together, and people are like, what are you talking about? We live together. Like, what are you talking about? We
Yeah.
like we around each other the weekends, like, or the weeks or whatever, right? Well, it's because proximity does not equal quality. And that was something that I know I had to learn, and a lot of us,
I'm
one
still learning.
and, and so so the first thing I'd say is like think as you think about structuring your day, think about, how can you give your partner what they need, or your kids what they need so for you to feel good and for them to feel good. And then the second part of that 6 hours is how can you be doing activities that are revenue generating activities that drive the business forward. And then the third part is how can you carve out at least a little bit of time every day to do something that makes you happy? Because at the end of the day, if you're not happy, like, there's a saying that, hurt people hurt people. Well, I think that unhappy people create unhappy people, whether that's
That's
your
true. That's
other,
true.
whoever. And so you have to be happy. How do you get happy? It takes a little bit of self-exploration. You might have to dibble and dabble a little bit to try some things. Ask your friends what they do for hobbies, try them out. I know hiking's not for me, but maybe mountain biking is, right? And so
Right.
like think about like every day, how can I spend 1 hour of my day doing something that feeds me and creates happiness, brings me closer to happiness. And then how am I doing 2 hours a day of focused work, blockers on, cell phone on airplane mode. The family knows that, hey, this is my time here to build our future, so they know not to bother you during that 2 hour sprint. And then how are you able to lock in and do something that really drives your family's potential earnings potential forward through this side hustle? So honestly, I think that's the biggest first and foremost. I think that like when I talk to entrepreneurs and I gauge how successful they're going to be, one of the first questions I ask them is what's your favorite show? They tell me. I'm like, what happened with it? They if they can tell me if they still caught up on seasons and not like watching it in rears, and now I'm like, oh, hold on now, hold on, are you really ready? Because the second thing that to your point of your three topics, the second thing is sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice in the short term to create a better long term? What money are you willing to save instead of spend, or allocate, invest? Mike knows all about investing, right? Like what monies are you willing to invest instead of spending? What time are you willing to invest instead of spending on TV shows or on something? What I mean? It's like there's so many things that can suck up our time. Facebook, Instagram. Like I limit my time on those. I say, okay, I've got this time to this time, that's it, right? Because I know it's easy for them to draw you in. And so, because they get paid off of your time and attention. Facebook and Instagram are free because they cost you time. They get paid off your time because the longer you're on, the more advertising dollars they get paid. Advertisers are like, okay, this person in this location is on now. I can get 5 chances to sell them. Like, right. And if they're on another 30 minutes, I get 2 more chances to sell them. So it's in my best interest to keep them on as long as possible. And so think about what you can sacrifice to make it happen, and be ready for it. And then the third thing I would say is you know you've got to, this is something that I had to learn the hard way, even just in my earlier relationships, is it really helps if you're single, great, get your friends on board, get your family members on board. um, if you're in relationships or have a family, you really need to get your partner on board from day zero, not day one, day zero, because they need to believe. They need to believe. They need to believe, and they need to. And in order for them to believe, they've got to understand, right? And what I'm not, I'll be transparent. There's a time where, my partner didn't believe and they cut me deep. Oh man, they were a naysayer, one of the biggest naysayers actually. And it frustrated me. And maybe it would discourage me if I was a different type of person. Right. But unfortunately, I've been doing entrepreneurship for a while. I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep going. It's gonna work out. You just gotta relax. But and then it took maybe 2 months longer, but I doubled everything I said I was going to do, right? But that time was a little chippy. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mike, it was a little chippy.
Yeah.
And you still get some of that residue of feeling like they didn't believe in me then. So you know what I mean, and that stays with you. But I think if I can help others not feel that same way, it's making sure that your partner understands the value that you're going to create, is on board with the why and understands the how, and then they can be a true, almost like they're an investor. They're an emotional investor, and it's your family finances in some cases, so they're an actual investor. But they have to be either an emotional investor in your project. And one of the best ways to make sure they stay a good investor, because we all know investors can get, those relationships can wear too, is by setting small goals that can demonstrate progress. So you might not make 50,000 next month, but hey, like, I'm going to get my website done on this day. I'm going to get my finances in order on this day. I'm gonna do these to get my credit score in a better place, so we got access to capital on this day. And so really breaking up into like small micro wins that can show them data points that demonstrate that you're on your way to accomplishing that goal. And that's what I would do differently, I think, moving forward. And now hopefully save you all a lot of time and discontent feelings that hopefully I've gone through so that you don't have to.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things my mentor, Dr. Myron Golden, shared with me, or with a few of us, was, and I'm not giving this guy a plug, but if you haven't read Daryl Eves' The YouTube Formula, I don't know if people can see that. Maybe, maybe not.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah, we got you.
great book, explains the YouTube algorithm, explains what you need. And I found it interesting because I got an email, Eze, the other day. And as business consultants, you always have someone pitching you something, right? And small businesses, the same thing. We can make you do better. We can do this. We can do that. I can increase your SEO. I can do all this. And I am one of those people where I hate to use this saying, but it's a true saying. I'm from the show me state, right? You like you just said about your partner, your wife or your significant other seeing what you're doing. Just like we have those hours that Ezzy was just talking about. They know when you're not doing any work. They know when you're watching too much TV, watching too much YouTube or too much social media. They know. And yeah, you might come home, you might have a drink, or you might go to the cigar bar and smoke a cigar, or maybe you smoke cigarettes. I don't know. They know when you go to the gym. They know everything about you. So they know if you are truly trying to get this done, or if you're just faking the funk, as I like to say. So as he's right, I mean, I've been married next week, it'll be 30 years. and 32 together. And trust me, she knows me like a book. She knows when I'm not on point and she knows when I am. But at the same time, I'm still trying to figure her out. So, with that said, what difficulties have you experienced during your business ventures?
Ooh.
I mean, you don't have to name them all, but if you could think of, one or two that might help some people out, because I know that you have a mentor and I have a mentor, a paid mentor, by the way, not just somebody you get advice from.
I got a couple.
Right.
This year I'm spending at least 60,000 on mentors and mentorship.
That's about right, 60 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why he's so willing to say that is because you can't expect people to pay you until you are willing to pay others. And your price is your price. So if you talk to a professional and they say the price is this, that's the price. There's no need to argue the price, because if you knew how to do it, you'd already be doing it. So the price is the price. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people, because they are in the mentality of I am a worker, when they go into becoming an entrepreneur, they don't really want to charge what they believe they're worth. They charge what they think they're worth. And thinking something and believing something is two different things. Right? Yeah. Now, depending on what books you read, the Bible, Think and Grow Rich, so as a man thinketh, so is he. Think and grow rich. You have to manifest it. Without vision, our people perish. It's in the Bible. And I don't want to get scriptural on people because it's Sunday and it's almost football time, but people need to think about that. So back to the question, give me some difficulties because I know you. And one example I can give you to help you out was when you were telling me, and you were telling a group of us, and this guy does a phenomenal seminar that he teaches business concepts on strategy. You were talking about actually marketing your family's wing business. And yes, the guy has a family business with wings and one of the top wing people in KC. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I might do is I might address your point about price, right? So one of the things that I had to learn the hard way, and a lot of people learn the hard way, and I knew it, but going into a different sector, like I had to relearn it because like it's about confidence that you can deliver on the promise that you're making people and solve their problem in a way that they're likely to love it. And that's what sometimes keeps us from the price. It's limiting beliefs about, are we going to be able to deliver on the problem that we're telling them we can solve for them, right? And how much so, and what's the likelihood percentage that we're going to deliver, and what if they don't like it, right? And that's one of the things that holds us back, and that's kind of a confidence level that, and sometimes that comes with just embracing it, embracing your abilities if you're highly familiar with that field. But then sometimes and to that, it's like, okay, well, are you investing in continuing your knowledge to get to the point where you are like, nah, man, like this is what it is, right? I good luck finding someone better than me, right? And that's when you have that energy, oh man, they can sense it. Right. Beyonce, I just heard her song earlier today. She's like, I don't argue with basic bees, I just raise my price. Right.
I love it.
He's like, hey, the price is the price. If you ain't got a stadium, then maybe I'm not for you. Like that's where she's at. But I think that the thing about pricing is that I'm a believer in something. When me and my cousin, uncle, and brother were opening the very first restaurant. It was like maybe the night before, 2 nights before, I had one of my friends, who is a successful entrepreneur. We were standing there looking at the menu in the middle of the lobby, and he was like, yeah, I'm like, man, are these prices right? Man, I just don't know, man. I don't know. And he looks at me, he says, the right price is the price someone's willing to pay. And that
I love
just
it.
stuck with me. I was like, ooh, you right. You right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that from a pricing perspective, one, it's okay to grow with your price, right? As your confidence grows, your experience grows, you can grow with that price. And I think that process happens pretty quickly. I started a consulting business where, you know, I still have a couple people legacies, but I'll tell you what, I won't pick up the phone for how much they're paying monthly. Like
Right.
right now, like you can't. Hey, if someone multiplies what they're paying by five, I'm gonna look them in their face and I'm like, I'm just not really interested. I gotta stay motivated, and that at that level is just not gonna keep me motivated, right? But in that process took 8 months. But I had to go through that process. I had to like I had to deliver on the promise I was making to people and see results, not for them, but for me. So that way and then each time I delivered, I was like, man, okay, so that was great. I can do it. But do I need to at what point do I need to charge to stay motivated to do it at a higher level? And so your sometimes your price just naturally goes up. Um, but what I might do if it's okay, Mike, is I think that the fear component of that, the fear side of it is a little bit more complex. And so I thought of something that I thought of a breakdown for people to make starting a business easier. And if they're in business, they might have missed some of these steps. And
Right.
so that might be part of the problem. And it's real quick, it's nothing super elaborate, but it is a breakdown. I didn't know if it's okay to kind of go through that,
Yeah.
your show. I don't,
Well,
you the
let me see here. I'd have to give you permission to share.
oh no, I'm just gonna talk through it. I'm
Oh,
gonna talk.
okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
It's
ahead.
nothing presentation.
Sorry, that's that. Look, we keep the technical stuff in here so that we're not perfect. But go ahead, Ezzy.
No, for sure, for sure. Okay, so if right now you're getting a check and you're not yet in a place in the place where you're you have a clear path to making the 50K you need to do some of the investments that can change your family's future, down payments on multifamilies, like the doing the stock trading, forex trading, the options trading. There's so many paths out there, buying an ambulance, right? Like there's so many of these options out there, but one of the things I found is that you really kind of have to have some money to start doing those, right? And I know there's ways around it with credit and credit and things like that, but it hits a little bit different when you got that money in your account and then you go to the bank,
Right, right.
versus the other way around. And so if you're one of those people who is thinking about how you can set your family up for a brighter future, one, we already talked about the habits you need to change, go shifting from a consumer to, oh, I've got to buy new clothes for this trip. No, you don't really. Like no one out there where in Cancun or wherever you're going, Disneyland knows what you wore last week or last year, right? Like there's just so many of these habits that you got to break to say, how can I save everything possible, right? And then how can I invest what I do have, right? So outside of those habits, right? We talked about the time allocation, think strategically about your days and your relationships and things like that. But the other side of it is you're now saying, okay, how can I create a hustle or create a business that can generate that 50K that gives me options? Because that's really what you're doing is you're buying time and you're buying options. You may not leverage that time. You may like your job, you like your managers, you like your the people you report to, your supervisors. Great, but it's great to have options. I'll tell you that. On those hard days, it makes getting out of bed just a little bit easier. And so we want to get you there, and a lot of times there's fear, and the fear comes from unknown. The fear is oftentimes coming from the unknown. So we're gonna break down real quick, like how to get out of that and make it easy for you. We're gonna make it easy.
Okay, listen up, guys. Here it goes. Remember, system means save yourself time, energy, and money. System. He's giving you a system.
And these are hard fought. So it may sound simple, but man, I've had to learn them all the hard way. So
Okay.
hopefully, and I've seen hundreds of entrepreneurs, misstep. And so this should make it easy. If you follow these steps, it should make it easy for you to create something that can make 50K within 15 months.
50K in 15 months. All right, let's go.
So first,
you're answering the next question I have for you, which was, what is the advice you would give entrepreneurs starting out in business? So this is perfect.
oh, I got you. When Mike asked me to come talk to his people, I know I got to come with the fire. I ain't no stoking coals. All no, it's all fire. It's all fire when I come. I gotta deliver for Mike. So
all right, fire and brimstone, we'll take it.
yes,
Fighters, I don't want to hear nothing about that. I got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first, think about what's your superpower, right? Think about what are you good at? What would other people say you're good at? And if you don't know, ask other people. Ask your significant other, ask your friends, your close friends, medium friends, and more acquaintance friends, those different spheres. Ask them. Ask them, hey, what am I good at? What do you think that people would probably pay me to do? Right? They might say, man, you smoke a mean brisket. Okay, cool. I know it now. Man, you're really organized. Okay, cool. You're great with kids. You're good at getting through the kids. You're good with animals. You're good with flavors. You got lots of energy. You're real technical. You got eye for design. You got eye for safety. You're a good driver. You're a great driver, right? And so whatever that superpower is, that's what you're going to then get with your partner and think about how you and your partner, see, day zero, can turn that into a business or revenue stream. Right. And the reason I say and your partner is because they're going to have to make sacrifices too if you're really going to make 50K. And it may be small, like they got to keep the kids more, or it may be bigger, like they got to make deliveries, right? But whatever it is, they're going to have sacrifice too. And you want them to feel emotionally invested from the beginning. Right. And also it gives them something to do. Right. So like
yes.
The worst thing is to have a significant other who's still in that mindset of scrolling for hours and you're busy working and you like, what are you doing? Right. You like, man, I'm busting my tail out here. I'm doing these shifts and then I'm coming home and I'm doing this work. And you over here, is that what you're doing? That's what you're doing? Oh, Lord. And you're just going to have problems. You're going to be angry and angstful and agitated and aggravated, all the A's, right? And so it helps to get them on board early so that they can understand the role they can play in it and give you ideas as well. And so then you take whatever those superpowers are. Let's say it's an eye for design and safety, right? You're good at dressing, and you've got an eye for safety. Like when you walk into a space, you all automatically just think, hey, the exits, the emergency exit. If someone walks in here on some rubbish, I know we need to evacuate here. I know that if the fire breaks out here, we need to do this, this, and this. I need to get these people out that way. These windows can break. About to break my lamp. These windows can break, and so we're going to do that. If that's how you think, and those are your two superpowers, let's say, eye for safety and eye for design. What if you then, design backpacks with the sheet armor built in? Right now, the armor is, armor is light enough weight where you can put it in the backpack, right? And what that does is it allows for parents sending their kids to school to not have to worry as much about if something happens with the active shooter, if their kid's going to come home safe.
Woo,
right?
He
Swing
just
that
gave you
backpack around and run backwards as you do it, And
Yeah.
so now what it does is it allows for you to put what you're good at together, what people know you're good at together, into a solution to a problem that as soon as people hear it, they have to put the money down. And it doesn't matter how much. That's where you want to live. Another example, if I for design, I for safety. You can white label an app for teens to not use their phone for while they're driving. Right? You white the app's already out there. They just suck at marketing. Right. So you can go to them, you can say, hey, can I get a wholesaler account where
Affiliate.
affiliate, yeah, let me get affiliate, let me put my own logo on there, and then you sell it. So that parents pay $200 a year for the app, and the app gets installed on their teenagers or their college kids' phones or whatever, and they just can't use their phone, and unless it's a call, actual call, emergency call to their contacts, that whoever you put in those emergency contacts while they're driving. And so if you think about one of the number one causes of death for teenagers is accidents, right?
Right.
You've invested too much as a parent to have your kid go out texting. So what if you can prevent that?
Love it.
You're
Love it.
saving their life and making sure they're going to live their life for $200 a year, right? So now it's something that like someone hears, as soon as they hear it, you want to be in that sweet spot where as soon as someone hears it, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. I got to do it. All right, cool.
And
Like the price is secondary.
They'll pay you, even if you set it up as a continuity plan, that $200 is it. If they paid over a year, you could jack the price up to, a little over $220 a month, which would be about $240 a year. You'd make an extra $40 just giving them the ability to pay on a monthly basis, through ACH or a credit card. So yeah, that's an awesome idea.
And I'm gonna tell you this, Mike. $50,000 divided by 200 is only 250 people.
And
Can you convince 250 parents to keep their kids alive?
Yeah, I think we could do that. I think we could do at least 20,000 people.
And so that's something where like you can do that in the part-time. It doesn't have to, a side hustle doesn't have to be all inclusive, all whatever. No, you can honestly, like, you can slide the armor, you can do a demonstration with the armor plate in the backpack. You can post it on Facebook and social media and say, hey, tag people, tag any parents who should know about this, right? And like that's those. And so and then just order it, put them together, and deliver it, right? You can order the backpacks.
They're already made. There's actually backpacks that actually turn into straight body armor that are out there. Now, people may not want to pay that price for their children, but I remember when I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and I had a Ducati, and so I was driving fast, and I bought a helmet. And I was looking at some helmets, and I asked the dealer, and he was honest with me. He was like, you can buy whatever helmet you want to buy. He was like, but let me ask you a question. And I said, what's that, sir? He said, how much is your head worth? I said, what do you mean by that? They all DOT certified. He was like, yep, they are. He's like, however, there's some that are made a lot different than the others. I bought $1,000 helmet. My head was worth $1,000 to me.
Yeah.
And the helmet I was looking at was $200. So you can't put a price on life, right?
I mean, that's the same thing with so for example, if you're a good driver, if good driving, we'll take of our list of things you just ran through. If you're a good driver, well, and that's your superpower, then what if you develop the ultimate driving skills course for teens and young adults, right?
That would be awesome.
Right now, if you think about it, again, going back to the problem, like number one killer of teenagers is accidents, right? And so, if you're a great driver, can you flesh out a course and a training to help them develop the skills to look out for all the things that they're likely to slip up on while driving?
I mean,
right?
You bring a valid point. The police officers out there normally drive on skid pads, and we do high pursuit chases when we're in the academy, and you do a lot of different types of driving, and you know, my daughter's been in several accidents, and to God be the glory that she's, you know, she's alive, but she just got her car back here recently, and I was like, she was so upset that she had wrecked her car. I said, you know what? We can always get another car. We can't get another you. You know, and having these driving courses in some states, driving courses are mandatory, but they're not teaching them how to deal with a hydroplane. They're not teaching them how to
Black
steer
ice,
black ice, snow, none of that. So I
cars
mean,
merging.
yep, cars merging, none of that. And so, you know, when it's raining, it doesn't have to be cold weather. It could be just torrential rains, and people just can't drive in the rain because, hey, it could even be vehicle maintenance because people don't take care of their windshield wipers. So there's so many things that Eze is pointing out that you as a professional could do. You know, my barber used to be a firefighter, and he started a hazardous reconstruction business where when a fire happened, insurance companies would pay them to actually come in and basically fix the structure up after it was damaged. Or if it was a homicide or a murder, he would actually go in and be the person that would actually do the cleaning to bring the house back up to standards based off insurance. And insurance companies paid that. And I never knew nothing about that. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. You're getting paid because somebody got killed and the owner of the house wants to live back in the house. They don't want to see brain matter all over the wall. They clean it up. You know, they clean up the carpet. They take it all up, they clean the floor, and they put new carpet down. So there's job opportunities out there for people that need to get hired as a job, and there as an owner, there's opportunity for you to hire others to actually do these jobs.
Mm-hmm. And people will, based on your profession, people will automatically trust you for certain things, right? So if you're a firefighter and you're like, hey, this is an axe I love, you don't have to make it, you don't have to invent it, you don't have to fabricate it. You can find one that you like that's at a price that is fair, that you can upsell, and that you rock with. And you can say, hey guys, like, here's an axe I like, here's all the things you can use it for. Like, it's a survival tool. So, you keep this little mini axe in the back of your car, or hell, keep it under your seat or something. So that way this part breaks out a window if you have an accident. This part can like saw your seatbelt if you have an accident. Like people automatically be like, okay, I get it. I trust their professional opinion on it, and they'll get it. So there's different, and you can charge $180 for that, right? That tool. And then you're at your 200. Can you sell 260 of those? Right? And so be thinking about your professional experience and what skills you naturally have and what things that people naturally trust you with. And it doesn't have to be this elaborate business. It can be a product that you love, you think works, and co-sign on. It can be an EpiPen. Like, it can be it can be like I don't have an EpiPen. I'm allergic to peanuts, right? Right. So it's
You
like,
need an EpiPen, Ezzy.
I know,
You
man,
can
I
get
know.
one from the local pharmacy. I'm not going to name any names, but you
Yeah.
know, they do sell them.
Yeah. But there's so many things out there that you can use, but it all that you can develop businesses around. And that's where you start with, what's your superpower? Ask your partner, ask your every circle of your friend sphere. And then what you do is you brainstorm things you can make 50K off of, around those, and then go back to those people and like brainstorm with them. Say, hey, here's my ideas, but here's my skills, right? Here's other skills I have professionally, whatever, and brainstorm with them. Like, what are things that the problems that if you could snap your fingers and solve for, like, you would do it. And so think about that. So you're in your sweet spot when the service you're offering aligns with the traits people see in you. And
Yeah.
that's why we're taking this approach. We're taking this approach of surveying the people who know you best, because they like they will tell you the skills that likely everyone sees in you, whether you can see them in yourself or not, right? And when you have a product, a service, a business, an offering that's in line with how people see you, and the expertise they could easily see you having, then that first set of 100 sales becomes easy, right? And that gives you the money. If you only need 250 sales, you're already almost halfway there to your 50K, right? And so and what's most important about that is they will recommend you to the people in their networks. So now you know how you don't have to be a social media expert. It's probably bad for business because I do growth marketing, but you don't have to have that person if your network believes that you're the best person to solve this problem that you're solving. They will tell everyone because they have the confidence in your ability to deliver and your ability to analyze that product and deliver that service, you know? And so you won't need as much marketing because you can really lean into network marketing. Now, after you do that, you get to the point where you can activate your network, i.e. when they hear your idea, your final list of ideas, and they're like, that makes sense. They would be good at that. Like when you start hearing that, when you're surveying the people about your ideas, that's when you know you're in that sweet spot. And so then all you have to do is develop compelling messaging and a polished, look for your product or whatever, so that looks like it works or it looks like the service is good, right? Maybe that's a website. If it's a product, maybe that's packaging, just a little package for it, nice box, whatever. Make sure the little, in that example, the axe has, doesn't have made in China stamped all over it, right? Like
Right.
it's gonna break on me as soon as no, it's good. It's a quality axe, I promise you. If it's a service, make sure that the website is great. So one of our examples of superpowers was getting good, good at getting through the kids. Well, you could do a youth boxing camp right during the summer and charge $3,000 per kid, right? And someone might be, what, $3,000 per kid for a summer program? Well, one, that's on par with what parents are already paying in a lot of cases. Like kids are expensive, whether it's sports or otherwise. But two, think of a tournament they gotta go to, man. That's you pay a hotel, you pay all this stuff. But even beyond that, the reason the compelling messaging is so important is because you should be positioning yourself to solve a hard problem that people either can't easily buy or they agree with as soon as they hear, even if they hadn't already thought of it, especially if they hadn't already thought of it. So in the example of boxing, it's like, hey, would you, I'm thinking about doing a summer camp where we teach kids leadership skills and structure so that they're able to avoid being influenced by other kids that they might come across that are bad influences, and they create regimented routines that can give their lives structure, help them be more productive, and help them with time management so that they're better in college, right? What's that worth to you? Because you can't buy it. You can't buy it. And that's where you want to be. You can't just go to the store and say, click confidence. My kid now has confidence. You can't swipe and say, click, my kid now has structure and won't be influenced by negative, influences, right? Click, my kid's not going to be bullied now because they know they can whip their tail if they want to, right? They're not swipe. They're going to be able to get better grades in college because they have the structure and the regiment to be able to know when to study and when not to party, right? They have discipline. You can't swipe your card for discipline.
That's true.
And so that's where you want to position yourself to where it's not the price is almost irrelevant. It's secondary. It's like, okay, well, all right, I can you deliver that? Yes, you can. All right, well, yeah, he's been in the military. He is honorably discharged. He really lives that life, a successful life where I want my kid to be Mike. Yeah, he can deliver on that. 100%.
So what you're saying is price is only an issue in the absence of value.
That's it, Mike. That's it.
I told you this guy is super smart. I got to break it down for us common folk. The guy can give you examples for days, and as you remind me of, I don't know if you can see it. Well, right here it says True North Protection and Defense Training. I was talking to a client, And he said, man, it's been 2 years. Your price really went up. And I said, yeah, it did. And what I would suggest to some of you people who are entrepreneurs, whether you have a training business or whatever your business you're doing is go and look at your competitors. And the reason why I brought that up is we were at the range and he had to renew his license for Maryland. And, you know, my prices are my prices. So I saw another instructor there, and then the instructor was shooting beside us because his client didn't show up. And I said, well, what happened? He was like, I waited for him at 1, I waited for him at 2, and then I just decided I would come shoot. He was like, but the guy's already paid me. I said, okay. I said, well, how much did he pay you? He told me the amount. I said, okay, well, let me show you something. So I went to my website because I needed him to understand where I was coming from. I showed him my price, and he was like, people pay you that? I said, yeah, that guy right there in that booth for 8 hours of renewal training, that's what he paid me. He was like, I need to change my prices. I said, yeah, you do. I said, because when people think you're not a professional, they take advantage of you. He's like, well, the guy who's willing to pay me the same amount the next time. I said, yeah, but he's stopping you from working with somebody else. I was like, if you raise your prices, then there's no argument. I was like, he won't waste your time. And I think as entrepreneurs, what we're so used to wanting to have people to do business with us. I don't care if you do business with me or not, because eventually, if I use the right funnels, if I use the right marketing tools, and I actually spend time giving quality content like we're doing right now, where business owners can get good, valuable information from a business consultant, not somebody who's somewhat successful, but someone who's actually doing it as a career and as a business, then your prices don't matter. You know, your value is already there. Like, you know, a lot of people say you got to have a lot of testimonials on your website and stuff like that. And when you're first starting out, you don't have testimonials. But what you do have is you have work ethic. And what you do have is over time, people see you in your space and they know that you're a thought leader, and they know that you're a producer. And those people that are productive are the people. I was telling my son, this comes from 3 feet from goal, as well as Think and Grow Rich. He or she who has the goal makes the rules, you know. And we were having a conversation about some people at his university that had lower GPAs than he had, but was still there. And I said, well, why do you think they're still there? He's like, well, because their family member is a senator or their family member is rich. I was like, okay. So what did you learn from that? He was like, I learned that I don't really know what I learned. I said, oh no, you learned something. You learned that with station in class, if a person has enough money, they can do a lot of different things that a person can't. I said, we see that in the legal system all the time. It's like, however, you're getting first class lesson that just because your mother and I may do well, there's people out there that do extremely well. And even if they don't deserve to be there after a semester because their GPA is too low, because of mama and daddy's money, they still can be there. And so we have to give our children those options to where we're not stressed about them going to school or what they're going to do. Even if we build a business, in most families, if they had a business, they've since walked away from it. Like I don't know too many businesses that are 4th generation, especially people of color. So, you know, there's some out there, but I don't know many. So with that said, you said you had other steps. Did we go through all of them?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually it. The last one, ironically, I had here, when you've hit your sweet spot, when it becomes a no-brainer for people as soon as they hear it, that's when you enter into the place you want to live, where the value of solving the problem is way over the cost. And when the value of your solution is way over, is greatly outweighs the cost of it, then it becomes a no-brainer for people and they buy. right? So you don't have to have the confidence of selling if all you have to do is make sure people hear about it or see it. And so you can accomplish that through the final step, which is what I call 4D marketing, which is, you show it works for you or others, and then you just magnify that and make it easy to buy. Magnify it so that others can see those results and see what's going on, and then your job is just to make it easy to buy. Now, why do I say make it easy to buy, right? People are like, of course you want to make it. Well, you'd be surprised how many people do not walk through the shoes of the person they want to buy. If you have a website, is it single? Do you do a good job laying out everything, how it's going to look, what they can expect, the change it's going to create for them or their loved ones, or how it's going to keep them out of harm's way, or how it's going to create structure, right? By the way, in that previous example, if you do $3,000 summer camp teaching kids how to box so that they don't get bullied and they have structure and discipline, $3,000, $50,000 divided by 3,000 is 16 kids. Can you get 16 parents? Can you find, or between you, your friends of friends, your family members, can you find 16 people, 16.6, so like we'll say 17. Can you find 17 parents who want their kids to, have discipline and structure and not get bullied?
Of
Right?
course you can. I mean,
You know,
it reminds me of when my daughter was in college, or before she went to college, she wanted to go to a program. And even my son, when he wanted to go, he went to Hopkins to this program. And program was like, for 2 weeks, was like $3,800. And guess what? As a parent, I paid it because I wanted my son or my daughter to have that opportunity to make a decision. Because to me, it's cheaper to send them to something like we're talking about right now, letting them make a decision, an informed decision, and figure out that they either like it or don't like it. My daughter was in computers in high school. My son is, so she's cybersecurity now. My son it wants to be a civil engineer. So what did I do was send him to a program where he could actually expound on that. Now he figured out that's what he wanted to do, right? But if we don't give our children those little things, we'll send children to school. They'll waste a bunch of money trying to figure out between coursework and stuff. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in that. Guess what? When I was in undergrad, I studied biology. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and now I'm a money doctor, sort of. But I got an undergrad degree, biology with a minor in chemistry. I worked in a lab for 6 months testing urine for marijuana, cocaine, PCP, and I hated it. And I figured out I like business. But I went through school, got a degree, and don't do any of that stuff. You don't want your children to do that. You want them to be successful. So that's what Izzy is basically saying to you. Like, you really want to set them up for success. And everybody's not going to go. I know, look, parents, don't hate me on this, because I know some of y'all do AAU ball and you spend all that money traveling because you think your son or your daughter is going to the pros. 1% go to the pros. Now, if you're doing that to teach them how to be a sports agent, that might make sense, because there's a lot of sports agents, but there's not a lot of pros. I don't care what sport you're in, right? So, figure out the things that you're good at. Like Ezzy said, get your sounding board together as far as your people and your spouse or your significant other. They can say, yeah, I think you are good at that. Then come up with a process or a product or a service that you can provide. I say a product, and the reason why I'm saying a product is because with service, that means it takes time, or it takes somebody time to provide that service. With a product, they can sell 24 hours a day and don't have to be there. Look at Amazon, right? So, and then he brought up he said, make the product and then make it easy to buy. So in the example, my client said to me, he was like, I booked the appointment and I got it on my side, but the pay button wasn't working. So I had to invoice him. And I was like, that's a problem. I'm like, we got to go back and check all the stuff in this particular website. And I got like 6 websites. So I'm like, I need to check all my buttons because you're so in a rush, or people working for you, you got to fact check them. So, you're right, Eze. You got to
I mean, how many times have we tried to call a contractor and they don't answer, and no one
all
gets
the
back
time.
to you for days, right? You're like, man, I'm trying. Do you not want money? Like, and so like, yes, you have to make it easy for people to buy. And what you do is you have to show that your product works, right? You gotta invest in a solid video. If it's a product, your video needs to be, it needs to be good. It needs to make people be like, wow, I need that. I need that, right? If it's a service, I'm okay with people giving away their service 1 or 2 times so that they can capture the process and then like have that person be like, oh my God, this person loves their superpower was they loved animals, and now like they gave my dog this like little collar or these little shoes for his paws that keep him from getting into stuff and digging my yard up, or he's a dog, he trained my dog, or what. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, you just need people to be able to look at that testimonial in the eyes and say they're for real.
Right.
They're for And if that's at a lower price, if that's free, okay, do it. But make sure if you're going to do that, that you're capturing the story and you're able to magnify it, because it's marketing. It's not giving away anything for free. I actually don't believe in giving away anything for free, but you can provide the service at a discounted cost in exchange for using that as material for marketing. So now it's not free, it's a marketing investment, because you're capturing it, you're capturing a testimonial, you're going to put it out there. People are going to look in that person's virtual eyes and be like, wow, like he really solved that problem. He really delivered. That's a real person. I'm going to take that chance with him.
So
So
people,
yeah.
he's dropping gems, he's dropping diamonds, he's dropping rubies, whatever you want to call it. He gave you bars. I mean, he's spitting game like you wouldn't believe. And for those of you that are in business, this man is telling you the truth. He's telling you these are the mistakes that people make. So with that said, what are the 3 things you would do to be successful in our current business environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that thing one, we have to lean into storytelling. We have to tell the story of what we're doing. If we don't, like, we're just not gonna, it's so much harder, right? You can build a business on word of mouth, but it's longer and harder. And a lot, and there's more things that can go wrong. But it is possible. But I think that in this current climate, you have to think about how you can lean into social media to tell that story, uh, or lean into people who understand social media. Like, if you're busy and you don't have time to master something, then lean into the people who do. Now, if you're working your shifts and you got 5-hour stretches, multiple times a week where you ain't doing nothing, then all right, you can literally lean into that and figure it out. But if you don't, if your schedule every day is very active, you're always busy, lean into someone else with that expertise. But be thinking about how you can tell your story for your business in a way that's easily digestible by people. And right now that's social media. And I know some people are still like, social media. Don't think of it like social media. Think of it as media that's social, right? And so media, right now it's easier to reach. It's easier to reach 100,000 people through a social media platform like Instagram than it is through television, through radio, right? Because on radio, they have to hear it 7 times before they take action, really, right? On TV, how much is a commercial? What time slots are you going to get? You're not going to get the priority time slots, and you're spray and pray. it's like a lot of people that are going to be watching it aren't going to be your core demographic. Even if you use the cable, like I know, cable television, they have like their demographics, they're not refined yet. And so, you're not able to get the granularity, like whittled down to the same style of person that you can if you do it on social, right? So on social, you can say, hey, I want people who follow Outdoor Magazine, who are parents with teenage kids, who I now want to see my, car hammer or my car axe, right? Whatever it is. You can get so, and I want those to be women because they're more likely to care and buy it, instantly. Right. You can get granular. And so I say, think about how you can position what you do in a way that you can tell that story easily, visually, and through social media.
So
And
hold
the
on one
second, yeah.
second. Hold on before we get to that second point. People, I need you to understand. He said, tell your story. Now, I understand there's a lot of people out here that are starting out, and you think you don't have a story to tell. You do have a story to tell. You can talk about who you are as a person, and people can identify with you because they may have gone through or going through you've experienced. So I'm not telling you to lie. He's not telling you to lie. He's telling you to tell your story. And your story, or as we like to say, his story, her story, history, her story, is your story. And nobody can tell your story like you because it's your story. Go to the second point, Izzy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I think you're absolutely right. Right. And like maybe I don't want that to be confusing. Like I realized when you were clarifying that like maybe I should have framed it a different way. Maybe think about it like, communicate your why. Right. There's a saying, people don't care about what you sell until they know you care about them or their problem. Right. And
Well, I
so
heard that people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. But either
yeah.
way, they got the point.
Yeah. I take some liberties with my Zig Ziglar because what I mean. Where it's one of those things where like it's easier to believe someone and believe that they're going to, if it's a product, you can believe that they're going to source the best product for solving that problem if you understand their why. Right. My why is I was walking. So this is like if I'm selling the car axe, right? I'm going to think through all my experiences and think what made me care about this problem, right? So like I was in Detroit and a car flipped over, rolled over, it was on fire. It was not on fire, it was smoking in Detroit on the freeway at 2 a.m. or something like that. We drive past, everyone's just driving past, right? She was in there, she was alert, she just couldn't get out.
Mm,
Are smoking, upside down smoking. We
mm.
stopped. I'm in the suit. I was at the Forbes summit. I sprint in a suit back 75 yards, 100 yards to her car. I'm struggling trying to get that door open. I call my people, they come over. We're struggling trying to get it open. Then we can't get the seatbelt. Once we pry the door, we can't get the seatbelt undone. Right? She's still in there alert. We can't get her out car smoking. Right? There's another instance in Kansas City where a very similar thing happened. Both cars couldn't get the
Do you know
grandmother.
why you couldn't get her out that seatbelt? Can I tell you?
I don't.
Okay. When a car flips over, think about the weight distribution. Where does all the weight go? Against the seatbelt. So now the seatbelt has that mechanism where it's keeping you from coming out of it. And even if you were pressing the button, you're going to still have a hard problem. So a lot of times, firefighters, and including police, we have to cut them out. We have to cut the seatbelt because their gravity is putting pressure on the belt, which won't allow it to release. So
See, you're
just a
gonna learn
note.
you something today. I'm learning me something today. Yeah, but
But go
yes,
back to the Kansas City because storytelling is a great thing.
but so I say all that to say that think about your why and communicate your why. And you're like people, if they understand what motivates you, then they're more likely to really lean into you and your business. And there's a lot of businesses out there who just simply haven't done that. right? And I don't care what type of business it is. It could be a seasoning business, and you're like, hey, my why is I'm tired of people eating bland food. My cousin died, and it made me realize life is too short to just go on, every day eating the same thing,
Mm,
right? Like, like it doesn't matter. Like, hell, I had a cousin who passed away this morning from a young cousin,
I'm sorry
late
to hear that.
teenager. You know how did it happen? Car accident, right?
Mm.
Now that's my why for wanting to make sure that there's some kind of program out here for kids to either not be able to text. I don't know, like it just happened this one. I don't know, like if he was texting or not. You're actually a pretty
You
good
can't
driver.
you can't do it. There are some
Yeah,
programs out there.
yeah. And so like, that, or not or just getting better driving skills. Because I know I taught myself how to drive off Gran Turismo. It was a video game. That was where I taught myself car dynamics and stuff. And that saved me from several accidents over the years because they had these licenses you had to qualify for and do slick tracks and do all this other stuff. And I had to learn the car. That I even had myself a little steering wheel on the PlayStation. And so that literally has saved my life several times. And how can I then, in real life help other people do that? And so that's why I created this course, and I partnered with some with a agency. Or I partnered with like a parking lot, and like now we have the whole thing. We set up cones and we just take them through these different dynamics. We do hit with the water hose, do these things. But that's why. That's what drove me. So now you're like, okay, I understand, and I'm fully invested in him wanting to do whatever it takes to make sure that my kid stays safe, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
so that's the power of telling a story, even if it's just teaching kids how to drive,
That's
you know?
awesome. So let me ask you this, because you're a professional, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. Do you train others to do what you do as a business coach or as a strategist?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I it's something that I've thought about doing. And if people reach out to me, then I typically do it. I haven't done it at scale, because I like to be pretty selective with the people. But as far as like and one of the things I realized is easier to teach people through the context of a business, or taking them through that process, right? So if they want to start a business, it's easier to take them through that, help them go through that process. Or if they're coaching others, it's easier to take them through the process of like, what kind of transformation they want to help people have. But everyone can always reach me you can search Eze Redwood, on all platforms, and there are very few of us out there, so you'll be able to find me pretty easily.
So now I was going to ask you if you had your program or your course already designed. What are the options for them to do the training programs? But it sounds like you're still working on that, or working through how, or each individual consult is kind of separate. You don't kind of put people all in one box. So I think it's really specific. So you're gonna have to get with Eze and figure out what your actual business would need to do, or the services he needs to provide you, or the products he needs to provide you to actually help you be successful. So you answered that.
Yeah,
Um,
and Mike, I'd say that, so I'm actually in the process of spinning up. So I don't know when they're going to see this, but there's a good chance that depending on when this comes out, and it might be something you just drop the link in the video description, after the fact.
right.
But I so right now we're actually developing it. This is top secret. This is debut. Mike's got me on here doing debuts. Hold on now. Let me check with legal. Let me make sure. Okay, cool. So I'm actually I'm actually about to drop a how to do vending course.
Okay.
So that'll be a all inclusive. We're actually tomorrow we finalize the sell of our vending business. We got about 21 locations.
Congratulations, brother.
So we're
Congratulations.
selling it, we're offloading this. Feels like we're sending the kid to college, you know.
Yeah.
I feel a little empty, I'm not gonna lie already. But you know, we learned a lot building that up, more so than most who only have a couple machines here and there. And so we're dropping that course. And then also I'm going to be dropping a course on how to help people, you know, make their first 50K in 15 months through the food business.
Okay.
So that comes out right after that, and then right after
That's
that
awesome.
it's going to be a course on how to get more people in the door, get more attention, and get more customers for an existing business.
So
So those three are coming back to back.
We're gonna have to talk offline because my courses that I'm working on are through Kajabi, and I know that you got Teach Think. If there's different platforms for different programs out there, but I got some stuff I'm gonna share with you, and you can compare it to your platform or what have you. But you're gonna be shocked when we have this conversation. But that's great news to know. So obviously they're gonna reach out to you. What does it mean for a person in any ethnic background to start a business from scratch? What do you think that means? Because we have immigrants that come from other countries, and people are always saying, well, the government's helping them and they got this or they got that. And the one thing that I know they got is they got grit. And then the second thing I know they got is they don't limit themselves on what they can do. And then the third thing I know they got is that no matter what, they keep working. They never stop, and they never stop believing. And you see it in every demographic, whether you're in Little Chinatown or you're in New York or you're in DC, it doesn't matter. If you got a food truck, it doesn't matter. When people find their passion, they actually go for it. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to work ethic, and it comes down to mindset. Be like, so some, like, one, not all immigrants get packages. So let's be clear. There's a lot that don't, right? But then alternatively, if you think about where they came from, right? So they came from, I have family in parts of the world where it's still dirt roads everywhere, not just a dirt road, not gravel, it's dirt everywhere, where the government is corrupt. You can't create a business unless you can afford to pay all these people off. You can't have an idea. It doesn't matter how good it is unless you pay the right people. The internet's non-existent. Even like you get 45 minutes of good internet, or it's all the time, but it's 2G and 3G, right? There's so many parts of the world where that's the reality. I think it comes from a place of privilege to say, oh, well, they have a leg up. You don't know where they came from.
Yeah,
I have people who came here and yes, they built a business, but it's because they don't want to go back and they know what's on the other side.
that's right.
They know what's back there. They know that their family was at risk for getting kidnapped,
Yep.
right? Like I don't
Facts.
think it's comparable. I don't think it's comparable, and I personally think that it's easy for us to think about excuses why other people are doing better than us instead of focusing on what we need to do to get where we need to go. And a lot of times that's just knowledge. It's knowledge and connections. And if they're watching this, they're already on the right path because they're investing their time in figuring out how to create the life they want to live instead of the people who complain about not being in that life but don't invest the time. Right now, they're off hungover from the night before. Right now, they're at brunch. Like right now, they're off doing anything but something, an activity that drives their future and their family's future forward. So most of the time when people say that, I look at them and I ask them, you have access to constant internet that's high speed. What have you done with it? The knowledge is out there. How have you looked for it? The people are out there. I don't care if you don't have money. Like, have you gone to the areas where they do have money and just hung out and asked people what they do and how you can get in it? I've been in areas where kids who have nothing in the US, kids who have nothing have taken a bus 2 hours to an area that does where they do have something. It's like nice shopping malls, right? And luxury shopping malls, and they're just asking everyone that comes in, hey, what do you do, and is it something that I can do, right? If you're not doing that, then I'm sorry. I'm trying not to get myself in trouble. Y'all don't get mad at me.
Well, this is an acronym I came up with, and I might have to change it, but WORK, WORK, stands for wealth, opportunities, resources, and knowledge. And so, I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't know what to do. Well, first of all, you could Google it. And I used to say it another way. I used to say you can Google that Sugar Hill lemon sticks. But I'm trying to clean up my talk. So Eze, it's been a pleasure talking to you. My question is for the people, and you said it earlier, but we want to make sure they hear it. How do the people contact you on social media? Like, are you accepting consultations now? And give them the way that they can reach you. If it's an email, if it's a website, if it's social media, if you want to put your number on it, I don't care how you do it. It's going to be in the recordings. I'm going to send you the recordings. I'm going to blast this out on YouTube. Obviously, it's going on Twitter. It's going on Facebook. It's going on Instagram. When I get finished putting this thing out, this thing was fire. This was hot. Everybody going to know who Eze Redwood is today.
Yeah. Well, my email is my name at gmail.com. No periods, no spaces. Feel free to email me. My handles on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Don't tweet me, actually. I don't check Twitter. LinkedIn or Facebook is Eze Redwood. Reach out to me there, especially feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And then on Instagram, it's Eze Time, EZETIME. That's my handle. Feel free to reach me there. And yeah, I'd love to talk to whoever is, if they're watching, if they watch this far, I want to talk to them.
Yep. Because we know with the algorithm, you'll lose them pretty quick. Well, until we talk again, guys, I'm going to say God bless. Eze, you hold on. This was amazing. The Financial First Responder is happy that you got this far. And I would like you to like and subscribe this channel. Share it with a friend or two. And until we talk again, God bless.
Hey.